Come on.
Deep in the heart of Idaho's beautiful Lemhi County, cowboy artist Jeff Miner shows off a bit of his handiwork on his horse, Skeeter. If he isn't in his pasture, you will most likely catch him behind his bench, creating. By coalescing strands that crisscross each other, Jeff's hands and fingers perform a choreographed dance of pulling and weaving. These repetitive movements combined are the heart and soul of the artistic endeavors of this Nebraska native cowboy.
My passion is rawhide braiding. It's one of those lost arts. There's not very many people that are really interested in taking the time and the effort to build something from basically a raw material. I mean, I start with a cowhide that's right off the cow. The hair's still on it. I take the hair off, I cut it in what I call rounds or circles, and then I cut strings out of that round and skive it down to the thickness that I want. I cut the strings to the width and basically come up with an end product. It's kind of satisfying to take a raw piece of material and turn it into a work of art. Leather is a processed cowhide. It's tanned. You can pretty much, pick it up, braid with it, put it down, come back 2 days later and braid with it. With rawhide, it's a little different because it's a rawhide. There's no tanning process. It's not softened. To work it, you have to have a certain moisture content in the hide. You have to keep that moisture content consistent throughout the length of your braiding time. And it requires a little bit more patience, a little more knowledge. You've got to be a little dexterous with your fingers. I mean, when you're handling, from 8 to 24 strands, your mind's got to be there knowing where those strands need to go, and then your fingers have to be able to put those strands where they need to go. Practice makes perfect, absolutely.
With hundreds of styles of braiding and knots in his repertoire, Jeff manages to turn each project into something special and unique. A recent trip abroad helped open Jeff's world to another method he could add to his collection.
Earlier this year, I went to Argentina and learned another style, which they have, and it's predominantly the Gaucho style. The North American style is kind of a herringbone, or what they would call the pluma style, which is like a feather. The V's all run lengthwise. In South America, they use what they call the Gaucho style, which the V's run around. And these two guys from Argentina, Armando De Ferrari and Pablo Lozano, they're two guys that I would probably rank in the top 5 in the world as far as braiders. I mean, they are just phenomenal braiders. They invited me down this spring, and I spent 25 days down there with them, and they just, I went down as a friend and came back as family, because they were just, they opened their houses and everything up to me, and showed me a lot of what they do as far as their work, their culture, their traditions of the Gaucho, and they're similar yet different from our, American West traditions, but very neat. This is an 8-strand or an 8-Plat braid. With the 8 here, there's 4 on each side. Generally, the highest strand is the one you work with. It is confusing. A lot of first-time braiders, they hold a bunch of strings in their hand and they say, "What's next?"
With many projects online at a time, drifting from one to another seems to almost be a requirement, given the repetitive nature of the work.
When you're sitting there and you're braiding for 4, 5, 6 hours straight, it's a little monotonous. I mean, even though if you're doing something new, you're concentrating on it. It is nice to be able to, if you get to a point where you can stop, put that away, and maybe go over to the silver bench and work on a couple of conchos or some Western jewelry, something like that, to kind of break the, I don't know whether you say monotony, but break the train of thought, and it helps me get more of a more rounded experience in things. It's like building a saddle. If you're carving it with floral design, when I go to the silver bench, then some of those floral designs come out in my silver work, and vice versa. It does help that I can go from discipline to discipline with me, so that I don't, go stir crazy on some things. But there again, some things require full concentration, and you pretty much have to stick with it to the end.
In Jeff's estimation, he has another 25 or 30 years ahead of him in his chosen craft as he strives to push forward, expanding his knowledge, skill, and expertise in creating Western art from the heart.
It's very satisfying to me to be able to produce something that is not only functional, that you could see out, the cowboys riding, a nice bridle set, with a nice silver inlaid bit, and yet that same thing could be hanging in an art gallery. And it's very satisfying to know that, there are people on both sides that appreciate this kind of work.
If you have an idea for Northwest Profiles, send it to KSPS TV, 3911 South Regal, Spokane, Washington 99223. Northwest Profiles is a presentation of KSPS Public Television.